Well, it's that time of year again, reviewing something that actually happened in the comics. Although after last year's Sonic issue, I don't think I'm ready to tackle another one just yet. Mega Man comics don't have anything near the ridiculous levels the Sonic comics can sometimes reach, and I'm not in the mood to review animated works. You know what? I'm going to do something different this year. I am going to review an adaptation of something I've enjoyed in my youth and still enjoy today. Something fun, something awesome, something cheesy, something more phenomenal. Greetings everyone! As you've just witnessed, I'm reviewing a Power Rangers comic this year, the first issue of the Boom series, issue 0. And I just realized, this is the second issue 0 I've reviewed this year. Anyway, I figured I'd use my annual This Is Not a Joke tradition to try this experiment because first, I said in my 3,000 subscriber Q&A that I would review a Power Rangers comic. Second, I've reviewed Sonic and Mega Man material for years. It's time to shake things up a bit. Third, it's the 25th anniversary of the franchise, and I would like to do something to celebrate it. And finally, I like Power Rangers in general. I'm sure it comes as no surprise. This first issue assumes you are familiar with the franchise, especially its first incarnation of the team. That's what I assume. Now, if you are indeed familiar with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and want to head straight to my review, feel free to skip to this time right here. Otherwise, buckle in everyone, I've got a lot to talk about. Power Rangers in general is a series that combines original American, or in this day and age, New Zealand footage, with footage from a Japanese series called Super Sentai. The plot of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, adapted from Kyoryu Sentai's Zyuranger, is as follows. Astronauts accidentally freed the evil Rita Repulsa and her minions from a dumpster, and Rita plans to take over the Earth. Her minions include Goldar, her main general, Finster, monster maker and inventor, and Squat and Babu, the evil comic relief duo, I guess. I've heard Babu's Sentai counterpart was an evil genius of some sort, and some of it is on display in Power Rangers. But ultimately, Finster would play the part of evil genius. Sensing Rita's escape, Zordon of Eltar and his robotic assistant Alpha 5 decide to summon 5 individuals to his command center at once. The individuals in question are 5 teenagers with attitude from Angel Grove. After receiving power coins that allow them access to powers based on prehistoric creatures, our newly chosen heroes decide this is crazy and bail. It's only after Rita sends her foot soldiers, the Putty Patrol, after them that the 5 teens decide to become the Power Rangers. First we have Jason Scott Lee, Red Ranger with the power of Tyrannosaurus. As the leader, he's a skilled martial artist, and his primary weapon is the Power Sword. Next is Zack Taylor, Black Ranger with the power of Mastodon. Best friend to Jason, he's considered the number 2 guy of the team, has a unique fighting style called Hip Hop Keto, and wields the Power Axe. Our next ranger is Billy Cranston, Blue Ranger with the power of Triceratops. While his fighting skills are not up to par with the others, he more than makes up for it by being the tech guy of the team, even coming up with their wrist communicators. His weapon is the Power Lance. Our 4th member is Trini Quan, Yellow Ranger with the power of Saber-Tooth Tiger. She's considered the heart of the team and frequently translates Billy's technobabble for everyone's convenience. She wields the Power Daggers. And finally, we have Kimberly Hart, Pink Ranger with the power of Pterodactyl. She's a skilled gymnast and wields the Power Bow. Your average Power Ranger story involves Rita sending down a monster for our heroes to fight, along with some putties as warm-up. The Rangers would find the monster's weakness, often thanks to Zordon's observations, and it would be defeated in one of 2 ways. The first is the Power Blaster, a combination of all the weapons that would blast the monster into oblivion. The second and more common method is after the following. If the monster is on the cusp of defeat, or to really screw with the Rangers, Rita would send her magic wand to Earth and it would make the monster grow to kaiju size. That's when the Rangers summon their Zords, robotic vehicles that take the shape of their prehistoric animals. All 5 of them can combine into the mighty Megazord, and often they would use its sword to vanquish the monsters. This kind of action is usually surrounded by plots that wouldn't be out of place in shows like Saved by the Bell, like friendship, environmental issues, and so on and so forth. things start to change in the 5-part story Green with Evil. A new kid named Tommy Oliver is competing against Jason in a martial arts competition which ends in a draw. Tommy's an alright guy, getting to know everyone, especially Kimberly. Unfortunately, Rita takes interest in Tommy's fighting skills and decides to turn him into a ranger to fight the others. Yep, Rita turns out has a power coin of her own. After some brainwashing, Rita transforms Tommy into the Green Ranger with the power of the dragon. He enters the command center to wreck it, cutting Zordon off from the Rangers, and he leaves a surprising first impression for the Rangers themselves. For most of Green with Evil, the Rangers were on the defensive. Sure, they won minor victories and repaired the command center, but they were still out of contact with Zordon, and without him, they cannot guarantee complete success against this threat. Their darkest moment, appropriately enough, is when Rita causes a solar eclipse to cut off the Megazord from its power source, allowing Goldar, the Green Ranger, and a third minion, which I'll talk about later, to destroy it. Don't worry, the Rangers escape, but this is definitely the darkest before the dawn moment. This is why the Rangers are true heroes. As soon as they learn Tommy is the Green Ranger and under a spell, they continue the fight to free him. Problem is, as a Ranger, Tommy has a Zord of his own, the Dragon Zord, which he controls thanks to his flute attachment on his primary weapon, the Dragon Dagger. Things turn around for our heroes as communication with Zordon is restored, and he brings the Zords back so the Rangers can subdue the Dragon Zord. Jason manages to free Tommy after a final one-on-one battle, and after everything that's happened, Jason invites Tommy to officially join the team, and he does. Sorry for the long backstory, but as I'm about to start the review, you'll see why it's necessary to know many of these things, especially with regards to Tommy. Let's not waste any more time. The issue begins with a pretty grim sight. Tommy as the Green Ranger has slain the others, with Rita giving her seal of approval. With no more Power Rangers, Rita's now free to take over the world with Tommy by her side. Oh, by the way, that weapon is the Sword of Darkness, the magical MacGuffin that kept Tommy brainwashed after Rita cast the initial spell. Thankfully, it was all a dream. Tommy is riding with Jason to school, and based on the dialogue, it's the weekend after the events of Green with Evil. They meet up with the others, and we get a glimpse of their normal lives. Typical high schooler stuff like tests and trying to get the best parking spot on the school campus. That takes me back. Something that's not typical is Tommy's hallucinations of Rita, and her manipulating words cause Tommy to drift away from the others, despite them trying to make him feel welcome. We head over to Rita's moon palace as she checks in on Finster, who's putting the final touches on his new monster, the Bolzer. Meanwhile in class, Kimberly sends Tommy a text to cheer him up and... Wait a minute, texting? Smartphones? Anyway, class is interrupted by this lady saying that there is an incident and everyone needs to head for the gym immediately. The incident, of course, is a monster attack. The 6 Rangers slip away and spot the Bolzer, who's already giant size. So the Rangers morph and summon their Zords. The Bolzer soon comes across both the Dragon Zord and the Megazord with the rarely seen Mastodon shield. Billy's analysis indicates that blunt attacks won't work on the Bolzer's armor, so they need to find a way to get between the plates. Jason has an idea, but Tommy is recklessly attacking the thing, all while Head Rita continues to taunt him. Eventually, they destroy the monster by having the Dragon Zord's drill tail penetrate the armored plating. This victory is short-lived as Tommy loses control and the Dragon Zord's tail destroys the nearby bridge. Oops. Kimberly detaches her Zord to catch the falling cars and brings them to safety. At the command center, Tommy's worried about his Zord being faulty. Jason then calls Tommy out for not following directions, and Tommy doesn't understand what to do in certain circumstances. Zordon diffuses the situation by saying that Jason has to make sure everyone's familiar with procedures, and that Tommy needs to ask questions to clarify things. He goes on to say that while Tommy's defection was a significant blow to Rita, she no doubt has something else planned. Sure enough, at the side of the Bolzer battle, a woman fishes a crystal from the water. Meet Scorpina, the third minion that trashed the Megazord back in Green with Evil. In fact, she joined, or rather, rejoined Rita's gang during that saga. She delivers the crystal to Rita, whom declares it their new beginning. Ominous. Let's move on to a brief 2-page tale involving the comedic duo of Farkas Bulkmeyer and Eugene Skulovich, better known as Bulk and Skull. They are being yelled at by Principal Kaplan for pulling a stunt involving live animals. They get a break when this guy arrives with a bill for 30 Italian subs that have to be paid with cash. As Kaplan deals with this mess, Bulk and Skull sneak off. Turns out they were the ones that arranged for the sub delivery. They try to make the moves on Kimberly, Trini, and a third girl named Ronnie, but the girls blow them off while at the same time talking about how awesome the Power Rangers are. This gives Bulk an idea. In order to impress the ladies, they'll become the new Power Rangers. Yeah, this is going to end well. We have one more story, which features a fight between the Red Ranger and Green Ranger against Goldar, with the others fighting the putties. Rita makes Goldar grow, which allows the other 4 Rangers to spot him, and they summon their Zords. They attack individually until they combine into the Megazord, and thanks to Tommy summoning the Dragon Zord, they have Goldar surrounded. Looks like he lost this one, dude. The third story is simple, an attempt by the enemy to divide and conquer only for it to backfire. Other than that, there's nothing memorable about it. Maybe that's why it wasn't included in the Volume 1 trade. The main purpose of the Bulk and Skull story is to provide some breather material after reading the more serious main story. I'll get to that soon. Even the art of this story reflects a lighter tone. It makes sense to have short stories focused on these 2 troublemakers because they are popular comic relief, and over the course of Power Rangers' first 6 seasons, they grow into true heroes. For now, their plan in the backup stories is to become Power Rangers to impress the ladies. If that sounds familiar, that's their subplot throughout the Season 3 opening of Friend in Need. Someone did their homework. Let's move on to the main story. Why start just after the events of Green with Evil instead of retelling the series from the beginning? Now, I've not read any interviews with head writer Kyle Higgins, but here's my thought. It could be argued that Green with Evil, and thus introducing Tommy and the Green Ranger, helped elevate Power Rangers beyond the silly gimmicky show into something more. In fact, the only ongoing plot of Season 1 involved Tommy and his Green Ranger powers. Of course, the only downside of starting the series in the aftermath of Green with Evil is, again, they assume you are familiar with the show. However, there is the possibility of people who are not fans to pick up the comic and join in the fandom. The comic sets the tone and time frame of the series. Instead of it being in the 90s, which is the time the original show aired, it was shifted into the 21st century, presumably around the time the comic was first published. Hence why the Rangers have smartphones. It was probably done to match our current media sensibilities. Tonal shifts in media do occur throughout the decades. Speaking of which, it shows that while Tommy has officially joined the team, he still feels like an outsider, even as the others are trying to welcome him. Understandable from Tommy's point of view, he still feels guilty about being Rita's puppet, not helped by the constant appearance of Head Rita. Although Jason could tone down his berating at him, this brings us to how the Power Rangers operate. A bit more militaristic than on the show. And yes, there have been teams that have a military feel to them, but not on the original show. Thinking about it now, the Rangers in some ways are like soldiers fighting to save the world from a dark menace. That menace, of course, is Rita. To continue with the tonal shift, instead of the whiny I have a headache villain we see every week on the show, we get a calm, collecting, almost scary villain who saw this defeat as just step 1 of a bigger plan. She must have just graduated from the David Xanatos School of Villainy. As her behavior here contradicts the one on the show, I can't imagine Barbara Goodson's Wicked Witch-inspired voice coming out of her mouth. I would replace it with, say, Azula's from Avatar: The Last Airbender for great effect. Especially when Head Rita taunts Tommy throughout the story. The art is good and helps contribute to this tone. For example, they made Finster here look creepy compared to how he looked on the show. There are some nice visual nods to the show, like having the Bandora Palace sign on Rita's palace. Bandora, for the record, is Rita's Sentai counterpart. And while there are some minor hiccups that can irk a diehard fan, I don't have a problem with it. For instance, Tommy pilots the Dragon Sword from the cockpit instead of using the Dragon Dagger to remote control it. The Green Ranger did it at least a couple of times on the show. I think he did it here because he really wants to be part of the team and he's trying too hard. That, and I think he's hesitant to use the Dragon Dagger flute right now due to him first playing it while brainwashed. Although I have to ask, why didn't he use it when he lost control of the Zord? But that's a minor sticking point for me. Overall, the issue does its job of reintroducing the Mighty Morphin team for fans who grew up watching the original show, kids these days who've gotten into the show, either discovering it on their own or through their parents who are fans, or some other category. Some might be put off by the serious tone, but I'm okay with it. Entertainment made for children/families can have a sophisticated feel to it, and Power Rangers has reached that level at times. It's time for this incarnation of the team to reach this level. If you are interested in me continuing to review Power Rangers comics, let me know in the comments below. Please note that if and when I do, I will be reviewing a few issues in one go due to the serial nature of the comic, and it will take a while to assemble. For now, I leave you all with the wise words of Zordon. May the power protect you. The colorist for the main story is Matt Herms, whose works include Archie Sonic and Archie Megaman. There's my connection to my previous reviews.